So just as God predicted, Pharaoh objects and he's stubborn and he won't let the people go. And we're actually going to skip, there's 10 plagues, the famous 10 plagues, and they're all worth studying. But we're going to dive in this week to plague number 7, and because it kind of highlights some key ideas about God's character and why he's doing this in the first place. Exodus 9:13 through 35. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning and confront Pharaoh. Say to him, 'This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. Let my people go so that they can worship me. This time I'm going to send all my plagues on you, your officials, and your people, so that you will know that there is no one like me in the whole world.' By now I could have used my power to strike you and your people with a deadly disease so that you would have disappeared from the earth. But I've left you standing for this reason, in order to show you my power and in order to make my name known in the whole world. You are still abusing your power against my people, and you refuse to let them go. Tomorrow at this time I'll cause the heaviest hail to fall in Egypt that has ever fallen from the day Egypt was founded until now. So bring under shelter your livestock and all that belongs to you that is out in the open. Every person or animal that is out in the open field and isn't brought inside will die when the hail rains down on them." Some of Pharaoh's officials who took the Lord's word seriously rushed to bring their servants and livestock inside for shelter. Others who didn't take the Lord's word to heart left their servants and livestock out in the open field. The Lord said to Moses, "Raise your hand toward the sky so that hail will fall on the whole land of Egypt, on people and animals and all the grain in the field in the land of Egypt." Then Moses raised his shepherd's rod toward the sky, and the Lord sent thunder and hail and lightning struck the earth. The Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. The hail and the lightning flashed in the middle of the hail. It was so severe that there had been nothing like it in the entire land of Egypt since it first became a nation. The hail beat down everything that was in the open field throughout the entire land of Egypt, both people and animals. The hail also beat down all the grains in the field, and it shattered every tree out in the field. The only place where hail didn't fall was in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron and said to them, "This time I've sinned. The Lord is right, and I and my people are wrong. Pray to the Lord. Enough of God's thunder and hail. I'm going to let you go. You don't need to stay here any longer." Moses said to him, "As soon as I've left the city, I'll spread out my hands to the Lord. Then the thunder and the hail will stop and won't return, so that you will know that the earth belongs to the Lord. But I know that you and your officials still don't take the Lord God seriously." Now, the flax and barley were destroyed because the barley had ears of grain and the flax had buds. But both durum and spelt wheat weren't ruined because they hadn't come up yet. Moses left Pharaoh in the city and spread out his hands to the Lord. Then the thunder and hail stopped, and the rain stopped pouring down on the earth. But when Pharaoh saw that the rain, hail, and thunder had stopped, he sinned again. Pharaoh and his officials became stubborn. Because of his stubbornness, Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go, just as the Lord had told Moses. Okay, this was a long one, but we're kind of skipping several of the plagues. There's 10 total. This one, I think, highlights some key themes and reasons for why God is sending any of these plagues in the first place. So I'm kind of focusing in on this one briefly. Is God actually describes why he's doing that. Why am I sending all of these plagues? I've left you standing. I could have just wiped you out with a snap, Thanos style. But I've left you standing for this reason, in order to show you my power and in order to make my name known in the whole world. So we're starting to see a little glimpse behind the curtain of why is God doing it this way in the first place. You're still abusing your power against my people. I'm giving you chance after chance after chance. And here, what I really love about this plague in particular is it shows an element of God's mercy here. God actually gives them a great warning. Look, I'm sending hail, but you can survive this. Bring under shelter your livestock and all that belongs to you, because anyone that's out in the field will die. And we actually start to see that some of the Egyptians, some of Pharaoh's officials, begin to believe. They take the Lord's word seriously, and so some of them that day were actually saved because they listened to the words of the Lord. The other key element here, the earlier plagues seemed to have affected everyone, but here we started to see, maybe around plague 4 or 5, that God is making a clear distinction between Israel and the Egyptians. And so the land of Goshen is where Israel lived. Verse 26, the hail didn't fall anywhere in the land of Goshen. So there was this way that, one, God's giving the Egyptians a chance to be saved. Two, he's very clearly showing that he is for the people of Goshen, for the Israelites. And so the hail stopped short of that border. So once again, Pharaoh, he says, I've sinned, please let me go. Please stop this. And Moses is like, yeah, you're not done yet. There's still some more plagues to come because Pharaoh's heart is still hardened. He's still stubborn here. But I just love, again, the juxtaposition of God's justice, his judgment. He's making his name known. He's showing that he is God over all the gods of Egypt. And yet there's also a lot of mercy here as well. There's mercy here. Even the timing. Some of their crops were destroyed because they had already come up. But the timing of this hailstorm came so that the ones that were still in the ground, there were durum seeds and spelt seeds that hadn't yet popped up yet. So Egypt is not going to starve ultimately because of this. It's hardship. It's devastating in one regard, but God gave them a warning. Their livestock, their servants, their people could have been saved. They're still going to have food. So there's a lot of mercy here mixed with this judgment. It starts to show, one, God is not this vindictive God trying to just wipe out all the Egyptians without a thought. He wants to save the Egyptians just as much as he wants to save Israel. So once again, this is the theme, and you could trace this throughout all of the plagues, but we're just focusing in on this one. Pharaoh seems to relent. Oh, this is hard. I can't believe this. Please pray to the Lord for us. And then it stops. And when it stops, once again, Pharaoh hardens his heart. He sinned against the Lord, and he refuses to let the Israelites go. So once again, just as God has predicted, it's heading toward the final showdown. I think it's so powerful to reflect on the mercy and grace of God here, juxtaposed with his justice. And there's this intense judgment being poured out on Egypt and on its gods and on Pharaoh, and yet God is merciful, and he's saying, I still want to rescue not only Israelites but Egyptians as well. And so there's this back and forth between God's mercy and God's judgment. Maybe that's a good reflection. Brings up some questions for you. What do you learn about God's character and his motives from this plague this week?